At the speech contest at 181 Madison.
Waiting for the break of day, searching for something to say.
North Division contest. Let's give yourself a round of applause. That round of applause was because you chose here to be tonight. How many people here have families? How many people have careers or professions? How many people besides Toastmasters have hobbies? So all of us raised our hand at least once, and we could have been doing something else tonight. But we chose, oh, now I got two hands back over here. We chose to come here to encourage each other, to help us practice building communication, leadership, and teamwork skills. And tonight we have a treat for you. We have 13 contestants. We're going to have 7 evaluators and 6 humorous speech contestants. But before I go too much and spill all the beans, we have somebody here who is one of my mentors who's going to lead us tonight. So please give let me do that again. Please give a warm round of applause to our contest master, Elta Marquez!
Thank you, Mr. Bill Morrill. Thank you for being my coachee. And welcome everyone. Thanks for coming on a holiday, which if you were lucky enough, you got the day off, and if you weren't, you just didn't get your mail today. I would like to introduce all of our dignitaries that are in the house.
Okay.
And these are very important people that have made Toastmasters their hobby. And I will begin. If I mention your name, please stand up. We will clap for you at the end to save time and to practice for the conference. Our Public Relations Officer, Don Williams. Listening skills. Central South Division Governor, Charlene Reinhardt. North Division Governor, Ethel Goatee. A6 Area Governor, Glenn Reed. B16 Area Governor, LaShonda Milton. C21 Area Governor, Rachel Taft. C22 Area Governor, Linda Morrill. C23 Area Governor, Oscar Lanford. C24 Area Governor, Rowena Mason. C25 Area Governor, Mandy Shaw. C26 Area Governor, Doretha Banks. C27 Area Governor, Sonica Eason. D34 Area Governor, Moni Petsod. S56 Area Governor, Lee Jones. W74 Area Governor, Carol Henry. And is there anybody I missed? Are you important? Mr. our Central North Division. Okay, now you can. All right, thank you for being important and coming. And everyone else's here is also important. Just remember that. We'll clap for you at the end. As a reminder, raise your hand if you have a cell phone. That's it? Okay, Make sure that you use that hand to turn it off, put it on mute, or whatever the case may be, because we do not want any interruptions for our wonderful contestants today. So do that now. If you're playing solitaire, you can still do that. Just put it on mute. I'm just kidding. The best show will be up here with our contestants. All right. So we have two contests today. The humorous speech contest and the speech evaluation contest. The first contest will be the speech evaluation contest. When that contest has concluded, we will have a 10-minute break. You can turn your phones on during the break, but make sure you turn them back off when we start again. After the break, we will conduct the humorous speech contest. The contestants, timers, ballot counters, and sergeant-at-arms have all been briefed prior to beginning of the contest. Everyone is aware of the Toastmasters International Contest rules that govern this contest. No one should enter or leave the room. Not through this door, not through that door, not through the windows. You cannot leave. Understood? We want our full attention to our speakers, and you moving around is going to steal the scene, so we do not want that. If you need to leave, please make sure you wait until somebody is done speaking, and you can leave in between speakers. Restrooms, by the way, in case you need them, for men, it's down this hallway right by the water fountain. For women, you have to go that hallway. So that's where they are. All right. After all that has been done, every cell phone has been turned off. Now you know where to exit or run. Let the contest begin. All right. So first I will announce the speaking order for our evaluators. Does everyone have a program? If you do not, we have extras in the back. So I will go ahead and announce. The first evaluator will be Patrick Stevenson. Number 1, Patrick Stevenson. The second evaluator will be Tracy Rudd. Tracy Rudd, second evaluator. Third evaluator, Gwendolyn Graff. Gwendolyn Graff, third evaluator. Fourth evaluator, Marlo V. Kemp. Marlo V. Kemp, fourth evaluator. Fifth evaluator, Desi Pratt. Desi Pratt, fourth evaluator. Fifth. Good, you're paying attention. Number 6, Gabrielle Schubert. Gabrielle Schubert, sixth evaluator. And our seventh and last contestant evaluator is Michael Beckett. Michael Beckett, seventh evaluator. All right. So next I would like to introduce to you our target speaker. And our target speaker has brought a speech to throw out for all the evaluators to be nice about. No, just kidding. But we are very thankful that Keith Pryor has come. Where are you, Keith?
Here I am.
Awesome. All right. I would like to welcome our guest, special guest, Keith Pryor, staying relevant in ever-changing times. Staying relevant in ever-changing times, Keith Pryor.
Good evening, contest master, fellow Toastmasters. I have to share a very sad story with you. It was one of the most humbling experiences in my life. I knew that one day this would come, but I just didn't know it would happen in this way. See, in case you don't notice, I have no hair. I knew that was coming. I can explain that away. I can say, well, hey, you know what? Michael Jordan has no hair. It's cool, it's stylish, it's virile. And then what hair I had left on my face began to turn gray. then I can explain that away too, because you know what, I had gray hair since my 20s. But no matter how I prepared myself for this day, I never expected it to happen this way. And it happened because of Popeye. Now, you may wonder, Popeye the sailor? The guy who used to eat spinach and then beat the crap out of everybody? Yes, that guy. See, I was playing golf one day, well, more particularly, I was at the driving range. And I was playing around, you know, you don't really play at the driving range, you kind of just hit balls, you see where they go. And there was a guy, I'd say he was about 17, 18. He came over, he looked at my clubs, he said, "Those are nice clubs. I like that head cover of yours. Who is that on your head cover?" Well, my head cover happened to be a Popeye head cover. Now, I've never experienced anything like that. I said, "What do you mean?" That's Popeye. Blank face. I mean, no, Popeye, you know, he's strong to the finish because he eats his spinach. No, I never heard of him. Is he a cartoon character? Oh, so now I'm really freaking out. I run to my cell phone. I grab it. I said, okay, I'm going to show this guy something. You know what? There's no way he can't know who Popeye is, because everybody knows who Popeye is. Everyone older than me knew who Popeye was. Everyone I hung out with, they knew who Popeye was. So I was going to teach him something. So I began to sing the song, "Sailor Man, I'm strong to the finish because I eat my
Popeye the
spinach."
sailor.
And his face was still blank. So I began to realize something. I began to realize a couple things. One, it didn't make any sense going any further with this kid. But two, I began to realize that I was now old enough that there was a generation younger than me, and that it was a generation that I couldn't fully communicate with or relate to. I had begun to lose touch and communication with the here and now. And then, last but not least, I realized I was getting old. See, upon reflection, after a couple days, I began to snap out of it. I began to feel good about you know, what happened. I began to put it in a different light. And so I want to share with you 3 things that I come to terms with, 3 things to help make sure that it doesn't happen again. And after this presentation, you should be able to identify these 3 ways. Now, this applies to you regardless of how old you are, be it 28 or 88. So let's begin. The first thing that I learned, you have to embrace yourself and your experiences. Regardless of who you are, you've probably had that same conversation that I had not long ago. Either someone who was the younger person or someone that's the older person. For me, it was full circle. What do I mean? Well, because 20 years ago, I was that young guy. And I talked to someone, and I remember this conversation very distinctly because he was talking to me about how he used to go to this club on 79th Street and how they had a good time. And don't you remember? Then he paused. He's like, "No, you don't remember." And I gave him a smirk, same smirk that this kid gave me. And he said, "You know what, youngster, you may be the one smiling, but I'm the one who's actually really happy." And he said, "I'm 60 years old, and I've made it this far." And he said, "You will go through life, and you'll realize there are people who didn't make it. They died unexpectedly. They didn't come along. They may be in prison. They may be sick. They may be infirm. But I'm here." So I don't run from that. I embrace that. And it took me 20 years just to remember that. So again, I want to share that with you. Be happy. Embrace the experiences that you had thus far. The experiences that you gained in the younger days. Wherever the badge we're under. With age comes wisdom. And with wisdom comes experience and perspectives on life that money cannot buy. The second thing that I learned, stay relevant. That doesn't mean you dress up like Lil Wayne or you wear like a meat suit like Lady Gaga. No, nothing like that. It doesn't mean that you're the old person at the club that's trying to dance with all the young folks. No. To your own self, be true. But what does it mean? It means that you should immerse yourself in the relevant, in what's here and now, to be an effective communicator. Well, what are some ways we can do that? Well, one, look at magazines. For example, you can look and see what's fashionable. You can see, well, what are the music? What are the top 10 songs? Technology. That's another way. But it moves fast, and you got to move fast with it. I mean, then just from my own experience, I mean, in the last 10 years, we had MySpace, then we had Facebook. Then finally, when I got on Facebook, now they got Twitter. Now they got, instead of Twitter, something called Instagram. I've never even heard of that. So the most important thing about part 2 of staying relevant is don't pass judgment. You don't have to like or agree with what's out there now, but you do have to understand and be an effective communicator. We've all been through this, regardless of your generation. If you were listening to Elvis, someone came in and said you listen to junk. If you listen to, in my case, Bobby Brown, I remember my mother saying, this is garbage. And now, 20 years later, I agree, well, yeah, it was garbage. But you think, but you can never be that person. Because remember that person, whoever said that to you, this is garbage, this isn't this isn't that. You didn't think highly of that person. So don't become that person. You don't have to agree with it, but understand. Part 3 is understanding. This is related to the second one. Well, the second one is staying in the present. Well, I'm sorry, excuse me. This third step is actually related to the second step that I made. The second step is about understanding the present. The third step requires going into the past. How many of you ever heard of the Beloit Mindset List? That is a list where every year they print something where they come out, but this generation, those who graduate in 4 years, this is what they'll go through. And it brings up things like, say for example, people who knew Will Smith only as an actor. They never knew that he rapped. So it's a list that can help you get perspective. Understand those who are going to be in the workforce in 4 years. It's an excellent resource for that. But again, it helps you gain understanding of who, of the future, those who are actually going to be in the workforce, and it helps you become a better communicator. So what I want to do in conclusion is share a quote with you. This quote said, well, you got to be like a chameleon to be able to change with the times. You can't hang on to the good old days because the good old days are gone. Well, I don't fully agree with that. I propose a moderate tone, or somewhere in between. Because I think the good old days bring wisdom. I think they bring good times, but you shouldn't be stuck in them. So in this speech, I outlined 3 communication keys. Application will help you stay balanced, help you prepare to become an effective communicator in the present and in the future. So again, thank you for your consideration and your time.
Thank you very much. At this time, we would like to give our we will give our speech evaluation contestants 5 minutes to complete, although I believe they get escorted first. Yes? Yes? Yes. So if you are an evaluator contestant, follow Mandy Shaw along. We will give you 5 minutes to write as fast as you can, and then hopefully you can read your writing when you get back. Once they are gone, you can't hear us anymore, I would like to invite, hold on one second while you pause something. Okay, I would like to invite our target speaker back up, please.
Toastmaster experience so far,
Well,
besides this?
actually, my Toastmaster experience has been pretty brief. This is my 3rd talk. So I've always felt comfortable in crowds, but I needed some kind of foundation to the speaking that I did. I do a lot of speaking at work, but it's quite informal. And I'd like to think that I did a good job at it, but I didn't know why I did a good job. So I joined Toastmasters to get a perspective, to actually know what works and what doesn't work, to give me a good foundation in speaking in the future.
All right, thank you. Well, let me ask you a couple things about What made you decide to be this brave to do this today?
Well, sometimes I think, like what's the saying, discretion is the part of valor. Sometimes you gotta throw that out the window and just jump in. And so I just jumped in, and then actually I got a little nervous because I was used to the last contest where it was a lot smaller, so when I walked in, I'm like, oh my God. So I had to, but then I got the cup of courage and I came back and I was like, well, you got to jump in at some point and just do it. So I'm a little nervous, but I figured once you get up here, it's not that bad.
All right, well, you will be very excited that you'll be sitting down for the rest of the part and
Yes.
then getting to hear all this feedback.
And that was,
And we have nice people recording it for you, so maybe you can ask them nicely too, get it? Because I know sometimes you forget stuff like that.
definitely.
But let me ask you about, it says one of your interests is teaching. Who do you teach? And you do that part-time, on the side, to people that you run into on the street?
Well, it was I'm an accidental teacher, and it doesn't normally entail what I do in my day-to-day work, but it was, we all take something away from what we do at work, and the part that I like was actually teaching. And then accidental teaching was that also, from time to time, I end up teaching dance classes, and that was usually by accident because the instructor was gone and there was no one else was there, and they was like, well, you're one lesson ahead of the kids, so go. And, so, and then what turned out, it was actually, I felt really comfortable doing it. I actually really liked doing it, and so it was just a way that, though I don't do it as much as I would like in my job, going to Toastmasters helped me when those instances come up to become an effective speaker.
What kind of dancing was that you're doing?
Oh, for the most part it was tap, and then also a little bit of salsa. It was just something I got into, and it was fun. So I was like, well, you know what? It's something to do on the side. So if we talk about hobbies today. Those are a couple of my hobbies. So.
All right. Well, I have a personal question to ask you.
Sure.
Would you like to? I don't know if you're aware of our district conference. Is the Power of Performance. Would you like to perform some tap dancing for them?
Oh, no.
I want 2 seconds of your dance moves for them.
Well, only if I can dance with you.
Oh! Let's get a dip.
No, we still have time. That's wonderful. Thank you. I have never danced on stage. Do we have a fall conference person here so we can recruit? No. We're not done with you yet. Don't worry, I'm not going to make you dance again. But I would like to present to you this beautiful certificate for doing this session. And we also have a present.
Oh, it doesn't get any better than this.
All right. Do we have anyone that would like to make an announcement? Mr. Bill Morrill, would you like to talk about our district conference?
Why, yes. Yes, I would. Anybody know what October 27th is?
Yes,
What is this?
Fall conference.
2012 conference. Anybody going?
Yeah.
All right, give yourself a round of applause for that. While our evaluation contestants are finishing up their evaluations, let's get 3 volunteers to tell about one of their favorite memories of a fall conference.
Cool.
It could be a great speaker. It could be a wonderful educational speaker they heard, or it could be a wonderful banner parade that they saw. Tim, we'll start with you. 30 seconds less.
30 seconds.
Mr. Tim.
Fall Conference 2006. That was my histological moment when I saw Jim Morgenthaler talk about meeting Saddam Hussein for the first time. That caused me to start this little hobby of mine called videotaping. You never know what's going to happen when you hear a speaker and what they can start. Thank you.
All right. Excellent. As I look around the room, I've seen people who have emceed conferences before. I've seen people who have performed at divisional contests. Who else would be like to be a volunteer to tell us a little bit about a fall memory.
You a joke master?
Shannon, come on up.
Fellow Toastmasters and welcome guests, I'd like to talk about 2007. It was the fall contest, and that was the first time we had the world's shortest speech contest. How many of you have seen the world's shortest speech contest since then, or then? What it is 30 seconds where you get up and talk about your club. So you give a 30-second speech about the wonders of your club, and it's during the banner parade. A lot of people don't see it because it's usually in the morning, but what an opportunity. And there are prizes, it's exciting, it's short.
Thank you, Shannon. And Moni, I saw your hand next. Let's welcome Moni. Come on up.
The very first time I went to the fall conference was 2010. I had received an award before and received an invitation to the Achievers Breakfast, but I never went because of what is all that? So, but the next time the fall conference came, I went there and I got the pin. That got me hooked, and I've been going to all the conferences.
I see a lot more hands and like to keep going, but we're just about ready for the evaluation contest. So what I want you to do, LaShonda, Tim, and other people raise your hands. Share those with us in a little bit, whether it's during the intermission or if we have a couple extra minutes. We can also, I'm getting a lot of head shakes, nods. We got a little more time, but we're going to start in just a minute for the evaluation contest. So what I'm going to ask people to do is share those special memories during our intermission, as well as we have a little more time later in the program. We'll have a couple other short 30-second commercials about the fall contest. Let me give you a recap of some of the things you'll see at this coming fall contest. Who knows who our guest speaker is going to be? Go ahead, Rachel.
Craig Valentine, former world champion of public speaking.
A world champion speaker. And if you don't know what that means, is we have the International Speech Contest in the spring. And that contest is a 5 to 7 minute speech. It can be on any topic, typically inspirational, motivational. And the winner of District 30, which includes over 200 clubs today, goes to the semifinals. Next year, it's going to be in Cincinnati. The year after, it's going to be in Malaysia. So go to the semifinals with the speech, and if they win at the semifinals, then they go and compete. The best 10 speakers for that year will compete for the honor of being the international world champion public speaker. And that's who's going to be here. Somebody who was at the club level, like many of us are today, who performed in an area, division, a semifinal, and a final. And of those 10 winners, he was the top. And he wants to come and share some of the things he's learned at that. He's a great speaker. You get a chance to see him at breakfast, go to the Achievers Breakfast. You get a chance to see him at lunch, as well as a keynote speaker later in the evening on Saturday. In addition, all throughout the day, there's going to be plenty of opportunities to meet other Toastmasters. People who are just starting out, people who have been around for a while, and people who are not only working on their communication side, they're working on their leadership side. But overall, you're going to have people who are interested in getting to know you. People who want to work on that teamwork, who want to network, and find out what your life story is and help you to be able to speak your life story. And that's what excites me about the conferences. You get a chance to see Toastmasters at our best, where we worry about and work on our communication, we work on our leadership, and we also work on our teamwork to the best that we can within Chicago. So those are some of the things you can come see at the Fall Conference on October 27th. And who can give me the address where that's at?
Willowbrook.
Willowbrook. It's at the Holiday Inn on Route 83, right off the Stevenson, right off I-55. And with that, are we almost ready for our first evaluation contest? And we are. So with that, I turn it back over to our Toastmaster.
Mr. Bill Morrell. And now it's time for the evaluation contest. And we have our first contestant here. Just as a reminder, I would like to ask everyone for a minute of silence in between each speaker. Timers, if once the speaker is done, if I can have a green light when the minute is up. All right, are you guys ready?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Yes.
Are you guys ready?
Yes.
Yes. All right, give it up to our first evaluator, Patrick Stevenson. Patrick Stevenson, evaluating Patrick Stevenson.
Madam Contest Chair, fellow Toastmasters, and especially Keith. Keith, I was impressed. Not only did you at least allay my fears that I'm the only one growing old in this day and age, but you followed so many of the best practices we teach in this organization. Number one, have a universal topic. Growing old, going through the generational times, we all deal with that. That was something I think everyone in this room could relate to. Number two, work in humor. And you had a couple of great ones, but one that made the whole audience laugh out loud. Everyone usually laughs in their head, but when you can get everyone in unison to laugh out loud, then you've hit the humor home run. And also, you kept it self-deprecating. No one's going to get upset when you make fun of yourself. And you did that perfectly, talking about your hair and your beard at the beginning. Number one, you got us all laughing. And number two, you let us know right away that you don't take yourselves too seriously. So we're in a much better mood for the rest of your speech. And number three, you kept your speech well organized. You went through the story in the intro, and when you got to the body, you said, now I've got 3 things I'm going to go through to help you guys cope with the changing times. And you went through them, one by one. Excellent use of what we teach here. A couple of things I want you to remember for the next time you give this speech, and I hope you do. Your hands were kind of muted. Kind of kept them here. Every once in a while, go out here, but for the most part, they're right here. Don't be afraid to drop them down. When you want to bring them up and throw them out there. More expressive. Number two, you moved around the stage, but kind of meanderingly. Now, when you want to go someplace, go there and talk. When you stop, stop and talk. And your eye contact kind of followed. You looked at the floor a few times and trying to avoid that. And also, one way to keep away from looking at the floor is to talk to the people in the first row. Not only do you make eye contact, but you make a connection, and the rest of the audience has the same feeling that you're talking one-on-one with them. And a great time to do that is when you have some dialogue going on. You had a quote, you had a story about you and someone else who was older than you are back when you were young. And he said, son, I'm 60 years old. That's the time to look at someone and say, son, I'm 60 years old. That way the audience gets the feel of what you were seeing and hearing when someone talked to you and delivered that message. Also, you had a few points where there was some extra wordiness. You had phrases like, I began to realize. Just say, I realized. You said, I want to share a quote with you. Just say, remember this, and then go into the quote. Cuts down on the words, cuts down on the time, gets right to the point. Now, hopefully, if you keep those in mind, you'll carry them forward. And when you do, because this is one of those speeches that should be given outside of Toastmasters, you have one of those exceptional voices for giving speeches. So I want you to take your voice in the speech outside of this organization. And when you do, work on the conclusion a little bit. Don't say thank you, no need. But this is a kind of a humorous speech, and it could do with a humorous conclusion. Refer to something you had earlier in the speech, like, oh, quote about Facebook, quote about Twitter. You know, with that, I think I need to check my Twitter account. Madam Toastmaster.
Our second contestant, Tracy L. Rudd. Tracy L. Rudd, second evaluator.
Contest master. Distinguished Toastmasters, fellow Toastmasters, and guests, good evening.
Good evening.
Am I too loud? I'm sorry. With the mission of fostering your self-confidence and personal growth, I'd like to offer these words. Congratulations on presenting a speech. It's not easy to stand here and talk to all these faces, so congratulations. I commend you on doing that. Keith gave us a discussion about adjusting to change and staying relevant. And I got confused. I thought we were having a humorous speech because he had all of us, as soon as he explained why he was so sad about being bald, and went to Popeye. When he said Popeye, automatically in my head went, Popeye, did yours? So you had us, you connected to us, and that's what the goal of all of this is about. That should have been a humorous speech, but I thank you for presenting. From Popeye, you went to your 3 points about adjusting to change and staying relevant, which also resonated because everyone was in here nodding and clapping, and you had me nodding and clapping except when you did Bobby Brown. I appreciate you using those methods to drive your point home, so well done. You wrapped up with a quote, and you reiterated those 3 key points. Your delivery was good and conversation, you seemed very comfortable, but you're a waiver and a pointer. That's not always bad, but I want you to make it mean something. It meant something when you did the run to my phone and you came back with a tune. So that gesture there worked very well. I want your movement and your eye contact to mean something. And this is an opportunity when I want to share something with you, because you were sharing something with you over here, but you got faces and share something with you. Just bring your speech out to us a little bit more. But I really enjoyed it. And when you say things like, snap out of it, snap. You know, add that element. You already had us, we're already nodding, we're already with you, and we're already encouraging because Toastmasters want you to do very well anyway. So just add those other elements, not because it's already humorous, you already got us, but make it deeper, give it to us, you know. We want to come along on the ride with you. So again, thank you, well done, nice content, nice delivery. Just take those cues to give us the verbals, give us the snaps, give us the points, give us the share, and keep it relevant. Thank you.
Our third contestant, 3 times the term, Gwendolyn Graff, Gwendolyn Graff, third contestant.
Keith, staying relevant in ever-changing times. So I liked your opening about your Popeye story, and what I liked about it specifically was that everything you kind of teased us. You teased us by talking about the fact that you were bald, and I thought, oh, this is what's going to stay relevant because he's got this story about going bald, going gray, and then you told the Popeye story like that you came out from behind the podium. And I like that you told a story that was relevant to everybody about being a generation off. And we've all gone through that experience. So for staying relevant, you stayed relevant, especially to this audience. It was a very good structure. You made it very clear that there was 3 points, and you told us when they were. So that was nice to know kind of how you were going to structure the speech. I liked your tips. So each of them you kind of gave tips, particularly the second one, when you talked about staying in the moment and staying on top of magazines, staying on top of technology, even though those things came out of relevancy and it's sometimes hard to keep up with them. I specifically liked your third tip about the Beloit mindset list. I did not know about this list, but I think it is one of those things that's really good to stay in touch and understand how you might be irrelevant. Your body movement. You did a lot of body movement. Your natural tendency is to have your hands at here, and you tend to do this, which is kind of a wise-looking posture, but kind of know that you tend to keep your upper arms close to your body. You do a lot of this, and your natural is here, but you did a lot of walking. When you were telling your story, you did some pacing, you did a little bit of rocking, so pay attention to that. What I did like about it, you came over and you got your prop, and you got your phone and you were talking about the Popeye, and you was like, wait, look, and you came over and you were very directed that you were going to show him this Popeye song. And then I particularly liked that you went into the song. And the audience loved it, and they all wanted to join with you. That was great. My only tip there would be let them, because quickly you slowed your pace, which naturally told them to stop singing. But perhaps it would be more appropriate to have directed them, cut them off, then continued on the lyrics that you would know, and we probably wouldn't, and slow those down. You use good use of that slowing down to show that he was so unfamiliar with the lyrics that you were very familiar with. I also liked when you used a pause. You were talking to the older generation who was talking about the days and times of his life, and you used a pause. You said pause, and you paused. That's great alliteration. I thought your structure was good. I thought you were funny. You got a lot of laughs, and you allowed us time for those laughs. So you were relatable, you were relevant, you were funny, you were amicable. So thank you for your speech. Thank you, again, 1 minute.
Our fourth contestant, Marlo V. Kemp. Marlo V. Kemp, fourth evaluation contest.
Thank you, distinguished Toastmasters, ladies Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Pryor, first of all, allow me to express my appreciation for providing us with a target speech of this evening. I must say that I found your speech both enlightening and inspiring, and there are many positives that I can take away from the speech. First of all, the speech was extremely relevant to everyone in the room. When I look around at the target audience, we are all of the age where there are folks who are significantly younger than us, who will look at our own experiences that kind of date us and make us believe that we are much older than we really believe we are. And it is a very humbling experience, as you mentioned, to realize that those cultural touchstones that we use as ways to mark the passage of time are actually, that there are folks who actually don't know what those are. So the topic itself was very relevant to the audience. I thought you used your use of humor and props was excellent. It kept the audience engaged, which I believe is very critical when giving any speech. The fact that you managed to keep the audience engaged continuously kept the audience attentive and alert, and the fact that you used very effective body language also, again, all contributed towards making sure that the audience was engaged at all times. One other good point, and there were plenty, but one other that stood out is that because of your topic, I believe that made it very easy to sell the audience on without having to take a long time to set it up, if you will. So given the fact that you have a 5-minute speech, it's very easy to spend so much of that time in the setup that you kind of miss the body of the speech. So by picking that topic properly, it allowed you to have a much shorter setup time, which I believe in turn allowed the audience to engage much quicker and gave you a much longer time for the body of your speech. If there was one thing, and this is a nitpicky item, if there was one thing that could have been improved, it is actually the fact that when you walk over here and talk, the microphone picks up your voice and it actually kind of changes the tone a bit. And so coming over to the podium and then walking away kind of lent itself to a slight change in tone that may have distracted from, slightly from an otherwise excellent speech. The other part that I really did like is that you used a term that I kind of heard of and referenced, the Beloit mindset list, but you then explained that term very well so that folks who weren't familiar with it could actually understand it. And so the final point is that you were very effective in combining all 3 points and bringing that out in the speech. And so you summarized it and concluded it very well. And with that, my evaluation is concluded. Thank you, Madam.
Again, I would like to request 1 minute of silence. Our 5th contestant, Desi Pratt. Desi Pratt, 5th evaluator.
Toastmaster dignitaries, contest dignitaries. Keith, I have to tell you that right away you got my attention. You started out with such a sad beginning. You talked about my hair. It was really saddening to hear that someone would talk about my hair. But then when you added the Popeye experience, I felt myself get stronger. And you went on into the body of your speech. And in the body of your speech, you introduced us to 3 key things, which I took as maintaining your self-assuredness, your confidence, no matter what the situation, no matter what the status is. You went on to talk about the effort that you went into trying to help a young person understand. Maybe he didn't get it right away, but you left an impression on him, I believe. Secondly, you talked about staying relevant, staying current, things that you can do to maintain your own self-confidence. Modern technology, reading, entertaining conversation with people from different age groups. And you wrapped it up by saying, maintain some understanding. Your topic was really engaging. One of the things that I would have liked to have seen is when you opened up with the sadness, be sad. It's okay to be sad. Your audience trusts me, at least me as part of the audience. I would have been more interested in what is it that's got this person so sad, or his life so sad. I love the closing, the way you wrapped it back around and talked about the 3 main topics. Staying confident, staying current, and having understanding. Contest tip.
Thank you. 1 minute of silence, please. Our 6th contestant, Gabrielle Schubert. Gabrielle Schubert? Schubert?
I was thinking ice cream.
Gabrielle Schubert.
Thank you, Madam Contest Chair, fellow Toastmasters, dignitaries, and especially Keith. Keith, thank you for taking the time to come and give your speech this evening. I think that it takes extra courage to deliver a speech at this level with all of these experienced Toastmasters, so I applaud you for that. Staying relevant
in changing times, I think, is a topic that we can all relate to. And as someone who is already past getting that AARP envelope in the mail, I can certainly relate to it. There are 3 things that I thought were really strong about your speech. And the first one was your stage presence. I saw you come up and take command of the stage. And you had your notes here that I thought you were very subtle in how you referred to them. And for the most part, you were out here in front. You had erect posture. You spoke very clearly. And you had my attention the whole time that you were speaking. The second thing is that I thought you had a very strong opening. I liked how you told your story about Popeye, and I think you got everybody's interest. And the most engaging, I think, and strong part of your speech was your use of humor. And you used it throughout the speech, and I particularly recall when you told that joke about Bobby Brown. You got a huge laugh, and I really admire you for that. So the use of humor I thought was excellent. There are a couple of things that I could suggest as improvements. One is the way that you organized your speech. I thought that your organization was clear, but as you got into your subpoints, your steps, the words that you used, and how you explained them, I have to confess I got just a little bit lost. And though overall I thought your speech was clear, I thought maybe the organization could have been a little bit simpler. And then if you were to go to the next level or give this speech again, I would encourage you to use more vocal variety and to act out those characters a little bit more. So when you were talking about the story with Popeye the Sailor Man and how you started, I would say, you could hold up the phone and then act out the other character and change your voice and use more body language and expression to get those characters across. So in closing, congratulations on a speech that I thought was both entertaining and inspiring. And to further your skills, I would say perhaps just think about that organization a little more clearly, maybe work on it with a friend and have them give you some feedback. And finally, to work on the vocal variety. Thank you very much.
One more minute of silence, please. Our 7th and final contestant, J. Michael Beckett. Michael Beckett, 7th and final evaluation contestant.
Madam Contest Chair, fellow Toastmasters, distinguished guests, and especially Keith, I have to let you know I hoofed it back from Middle Wisconsin to come back and hear your speech, and it was so very worth it. You have many of the traits that are a keystone of being a speaker and a Toastmaster. You had great vocal variety in your speech when you're describing the reactions of the young golfer at the driving range, and I loved your use of the speaking space and holding out the cell phone to have him listen to the song. Excellent use of very simple props and that sort of thing. So it was very engaging for us. We could all relate to those elements very well. I appreciate your preparedness and use of language and examples for describing the different points. You had 3 points in your speech, and I thought that was very well done. There are 3 things I'd like to talk about to help you as you prepare and refine this speech and move on to your next speeches, and I hope there are many more to come. The first one is I would like to see a little bit more balance between the 3 parts of your speech. When I first listened to your speech, it seemed to be, I thought maybe your intro was actually kind of brief until you got to where you were mentioning your 3 points, and then I realized your intro was actually quite long. So I think maybe you could pare down the beginning a little bit and talk about the golfer and his not knowing who Popeye was, and then have a little bit more time for your 3 points, and then when you finish with the conclusion, I love the phrase you gave, but I think we want to hear a restatement of the 3 points so that it's fresh in our minds as the audience. The second thing is, one of the things I like to teach our Toastmasters is pick someone in the back of the room and make sure you're speaking to them. I think there were a few times when you weren't projecting all the way to the back of the room, and I think it was a little bit hard to pick up on some of the things you were saying. And this leads me to my third point, and I believe it's one of the things that I wish we would teach a little bit more in Toastmasters is this blasted podium. The podium and the mic are something that we rarely come in contact with, and it's hard to react when we have something that helps us get to the back of the room, and then when we leave that podium, we have to then rely on doing it ourselves. So if there's a way to prepare and practice either being behind the podium, although I'd rather not that be the case, or ignore the podium and speak out in front of us here, relying on your own strong voice. Part of the thing that'll help with that is relying a little less on your notes, so you don't feel like you're right here, following, finding your place every now and then, and that'll detach you from the podium. It was an excellent job. I love the story. I love something that made me think about it is my kids don't know what a cassette tape is. All they know is that there's an adapter that you plug into the car to make the iPod work. So I can completely relate to your topic and your speech as being something that we should be relevant, but also hold true to things that are important to us and what we learned from our history. Great job, Keith.
At this time, I would like to ask everyone to remain seated while the judges complete their ballots and have them collected by the ballot counters. I would also like to request more silence. Okay, while the ballots are being counted, I would like to bring up our Mr. Bill Murill again to finish up announcements. Come on up, Bill.
Thank you, Madam Contest Master. Isn't she doing a great job? Yeah. Now we still have 7 more speakers to go. So what I'm going to do is just briefly summarize in 30 seconds some of the things you heard before, and then I'm going to let everybody take a 10-minute break. Our ballot counters are off in a room by themselves, so they are in a secluded place. If you happen to notice where they are, don't bug them. They'll be back in a couple minutes. So I have 20 seconds left. And a couple of different people who were having their hands up earlier talking to us about great memories they had with the fall conference. And I mentioned to you some of the interesting things we'll have. One of the exciting things is that the winner for today, both the humorous speech contest and the evaluation contest, will get the opportunity to compete against the other 7 winners in our other divisions across Chicagoland. So we're going to have 8, that's 7, we're going to have 8 humorist speakers and 8 evaluation contestants, which is the most ever in District 30 history. Let's give ourselves a round of applause for that. So with that, everybody take a look at your watch. Mine says 1/4 till. At about 8 minutes from now, I'll ask you guys to start getting your seats, and let's come back and start the humorous contest in about 10 minutes.